This is the third part of the Ezekiel and Daniel screencast for Nyack College. We've already looked at the Ezekiel's call and commission in chapters 1 to 3, the oracles of judgment in 4 to 24, the oracles against the nations in 25 to 32, and we've just read as part of the promise of restoration in 33 to 38. We've just read that famous, that well-known passage concerning the valley of dry bones in the section on the promises and of restoration, if you like, to the nation of Israel. Also in this section we find a description of a final battle of Gog and Magog, another topic which has been frequently reinterpreted in contemporary situations. Concerning this prophecy, we must be careful concerning how we understand it. Ultimately, it's difficult to know for sure who exactly Gog and Magog represent. Were they real nations from the 6th to the 4th century BC, or were they just symbolic of all nations or all Israel's enemies? When dealing with prophecies of this kind, it's always useful to begin with listing down those things that we know for sure, and also to apply what we do know about the prophecies to the immediate context, which in this case was Ezekiel. We're going to find out more about the interpretation of apocalyptic literature, which is basically what this is, in the following sections on Daniel. For the time being, the three things I think we can assume from this passage with any degree of certainty are: first, that Israel's enemies will rise against her; second, that there will be some kind of battle or huge conflict between Israel and her enemies; and third, that God will intervene and he will help to bring a victory for his people. The final chapters in Ezekiel, final section, also chapters 40 to 48, deal with what has come to be known as the third temple. It bears this name because as of yet there has not been a temple constructed that measures up to the dimensions described in the book. The first temple would have been the Solomonic temple, and the second temple would only have been the temple reconstructed during the leadership of Ezra and Nehemiah, and this in many ways is referred to as a third temple. Naturally, this anomaly of the third temple has led to a great many questions concerning the timing and intention of such a construction. We're briefly going to look at some of these questions right now. First question addresses the immediate context of the exiles and the first wave of returnees. Did the exiles complete the fulfillment of this prophecy, which is the building of the third temple, as it was described in the latter chapters of the book of Ezekiel? Did they use that description as best as they possibly could to construct their temple? Of course, if this is the case, then the description of the water flowing from the temple into the desert in chapter 47 seems to contradict the idea that, because that never actually happened. In that case, we look at it as very much a failed prophecy. So in one sense, if you like, some people have come to think that the exiles did their best to complete this temple as described. They made the best efforts to do so, but were just inadequate with regards to the materials they had at hand and the resolve that they had to do it. Another idea is that the temple will be constructed after Jesus returns. Even though there would be no real need for sacrifices per se, some have speculated that there would be a third temple constructed when Jesus returns, as a symbol, as if you like, of the work which he performed on the cross, a symbol of the, if you like, the symbol of God reaching man, a contact point between God and man, but no need for actual sacrifices, obviously, because the body and blood of Jesus was sufficient for us. Another notion concerning this temple, the third temple, somewhat a fringe idea, but nevertheless I do need to at least make mention of it, is that the church somehow fulfills the building of the temple in a spiritual sense. I'm not going to comment much more on this. If you want more details on this idea, on this interpretive direction, please turn to the corresponding section in the course textbook. You need to turn to chapter 26. Another opinion concerning this temple is that it was supposed to be constructed by the exiles after they returned exactly according to the specifications provided. The idea behind this is, had they done so, then they would have been blessed with this endless supply of water issuing forth from under the temple and out into the deserts. Thus, because they failed to be obedient to the exact specifications, they weren't able to walk in and inherit the blessings that would have come, that would have followed in this act. The last idea I just want to quickly mention, ask the question, will it be built in our day? Many practicing Jews today in Israel believe that this third temple is to be constructed in our days, which is literally to say any day now in the coming years, if you like, as soon as the time is right. A projection of what this temple may look like is right here on this slide. It is said, I've heard many rumors concerning this, that the preparations are well on the way to collecting all of the articles that will be used in such a temple. This slide, by the way, is only a digital image or reproduction, if you like, of the temple. It's not actually saying that's in place. It's not actually in place now in Israel. So it's been said that they've already began to collect a lot of the wood and the articles, the temple articles and artifacts that they have needed for the completion of the temple, and they've even found the red heifer. For that, for reference to that, you need to turn to Numbers 19, which describes a ceremony involving a red heifer, and the line of this heifer, or the type of cow, if you like, had been lost for many years, but had recently been rediscovered. The only obvious obstruction to the plans at this moment in time is the presence of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which currently stands on the Temple Mount. You can look here in this particular picture, just on the left-hand side, you have the gold dome of the mosque next to the temple as it would look were it actually constructed. And as you can imagine, it's highly unlikely that Muslims would allow the temple to be constructed so close to their holy site. From all of these explanations, the most important for you as students of the Old Testament to remember is that there is no consensus concerning this temple. It is still very much a point of contention. It's still hotly disputed. But in spite of that, you know, the exact time when it was built, if it was ever built, these are issues really that should not cause any kind of major confusion, if you like, amongst the body. This basically ends our brief look at Ezekiel, and we will now be turning our attention to the book of Daniel, which will come in the next part of this screencast.